Okay, so thank you again, Vanessa, for joining us on Cosentino City Live, and thank you again for kind of headlining this webinar series for us. It was really interesting to speak with you last week. Obviously, we're talking about how coronavirus is going to change the way we live and we work for the next 10 years. And obviously last week we spoke about specifically the design industry, and there was lots of exciting and interesting things that kind of came up about how the industry is going to evolve and adapt as a result of this pandemic. Obviously this week and today we're going to be speaking about specifically technology. Obviously, technology plays a massive part in everybody's day-to-day life, even before kind of this global pandemic. But even more so now, people are using technology to, to do business and to keep communicating with friends and family, etc. So the role of technology is kind of even going to grow even further. So with that, do you think that we're going to see a rise in kind of smart homes, and what effect do you think this could have on commercial spaces as well?
Well, hi again, Olivia. It's fantastic doing this with you again. So yes, I agree with you. I think technology has really been adapted and really encouraged by people at home now and in business in a way that it hadn't previously. You'd think we'd only just discovered it truly, but suddenly now, because of COVID, everyone is really embracing it. And I see so many events and seminars and things that are now being done online. So this morning, for example, I had one that came in saying, for 1 year only, we are doing this online. And I thought, I wonder if they will go back to in the room seminars and conferences. And I think that, again, in the home, that it's absolutely going to be addressed, because I think people have really started to connect. They say it's not the same. My friends all say, oh, now that there's been an ease, although we've stayed in touch on the Zoom and Teams meetings, etc., it's not the same as a face-to-face. And so I think that both go side by side, but I think it's been fantastic for people in different countries to children to meet up with their families, and mixed generations in all different locations. And we all sort of travel for work and everything now so much. I think that it's going to be here to stay, and I think that because of that, it will have an impact on the way we design our homes and the way homes are built, and it will be the technology and the smart homes. It's going to be, the technology is going to be integrated into the actual structure of future homes, and so that they will be, I suppose, fast and able to adapt to new technologies as they arrive. Mm-hmm. I remember probably about 10 years ago when we were all, installing well, maybe longer than that, but we always put in Cat 5. And I remember a few years before that doing a penthouse in Kensington. And at the time that my client had bought their smart kit from Harrods, and to the time we went to market and started to procure the installation, it was already out of date. And so I learned from that hardwiring everything was really very difficult because the technology moves so fast. So we'll see what will happen now.
Yeah, I think I totally agree. I mean, technology has always been around us, and I think it's now more than ever we've got to learn how to use technology that already existed, but in a almost like a better way. And I think you make a really interesting point about people's homes and how potentially the technology will actually now be built into the sofas and workstations, etc. I think that will definitely be something that will happen. Do you think that will happen both domestically and commercially with regards to kind of integrating technology into physical pieces of furniture?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you see the threat to television and radio
Yeah.
in a, there's, you know, the radio and the TV license in the UK is under debate and has been for the last 5 or 6 years as to it's a royal trusted body, the British BBC, and under government control. Will we have to buy a license in the future? How many people currently buy a license to watch television, and do they watch television on a television screen, or will they watch or just download and stream things, and will then be those types of channels? So looking at a TV set to a screen on the wall, I don't think that will be there like that in the next 5 years. I think it will be. I think what we watch, you know, now you see that you can watch things on your watch, you can see things on your personal devices. We all get on planes, and you know, a few years ago we got on a plane and watched a TV screen in the seat back or on a monitor in front of us. Now, most people, when I look around an aeroplane, they're got their earplugs in and they're watching their own choice on their own devices on airplanes. And I think that's exactly what will happen in the home. I think there'll be less. It will be less furniture and more function within different pieces. You know, like in the fridge freezer where it's doing the shopping for you and reminding you that this is out of date, or and this needs you need to replenish your butter or whatever it is, so that the fridge is being intelligent for you, and in the same way the hob is, and the heating and that. So I think furniture will absolutely include it, and I think it will also change from being in certain rooms where sort of, I suppose historically, the place where people accumulated as a family or to relax would be, you know, their sitting room when it's in the home to sit down and watch television or a film. I don't think that that's how it's going to be in the future, because now people are, you know, they watch in bed or they sit in the bath and have it. So I think it will be much more adaptable, and different size screens, and also with the face recognition and the fingertip and the fingerprint recognition, all of those things will alter and be integrated into every different style and type of products that go into the home. And automatically that has to link with business, because business is going to be done at home as much as in the workplace.
Absolutely, because that's the other thing, isn't it? To this kind of point is that people are probably going to be working more flexibly now. You know, we may even see a 4-day working week kind of take effect, and so people are going to be then probably the desktop top computer is going to be something that will no longer be used. Yeah. I think people will be using their tablets or their phones, or you know, and they'll be walking around with them. And as you say, people, I mean, I see when I used to go on the train, feels like a long time ago now. But when people are on the trains on their way into work, they're watching something. They're watching, I don't know, something they've downloaded the night before.
Podcast.
Yeah, and podcast, exactly.
Yes.
And so people are going to be a lot more kind of almost independent. But that almost poses another question, in that does that mean that people in their homes, if they are using their own tablets, so you have a family, say for example, and the children are on their tablets and the parents are on theirs, does it mean that people are going to be spending, I don't know, does it mean less time with each other? They're not going to be, you know, all rushing to the lounge to watch.
I read a report last week that said in the next 10 years, we spend more time talking to computers than we do to our partners. That's scary.
Yeah, it is. It's incredibly scary, and it's something that I've seen and I've lived through. I mean, I'm working from home, and I have been for the past couple of months now. And my partner, my boyfriend, is working from home as well. And and constantly both of us are just we're just tied to this machine. So I wonder how we're going to kind of break that mold and come out of that and still be able to actually spend time physically with one another as opposed to just through a device.
I think that we're going to have to retrain ourselves into schedules, because we've got used to being available 24/7. Especially when you go on holiday, people still take their devices and they still respond. So you never really truly shut down. One thing that did change during the lockdown is that, I mean, I've worked all the way through, and so has everybody at SBID, but we in general worked at a more pleasant pace. But I do think that I up until last week, and I promise not to go back to it, but I did just for a few days go back to doing 13 hours a day, which is ridiculous. But I think we need to be just more disciplined to say, start at a certain time, we end at a certain time, and then not touch those devices for work in between. I mean, I do have a separate ring for things, like that I think, oh, if there's an emergency, I know that that's the ring I have on it. And if it doesn't come up on that ring, I shouldn't answer my phone, and I shouldn't, if it's not, social. And in that way, because otherwise, it's like you go to sleep and you pick up your devices and your phones to put them in. And it is very easy to glance at the screen and so easy to tap it. And then you've read something that's very annoying, and you go to sleep spitting, or and it's not healthy.
No.
So I think we need to retrain ourselves how we work and when to stop.
Absolutely. I couldn't. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at one point I actually banned phones from being allowed in the bedroom because you just think it's not
intrusive.
It's intrusive. Yeah, absolutely. And that's I think something that with technology being a bigger part in everybody's lives now, like you say, people are going to have to learn how to almost be able to put it down and do something else. Especially those people that have been working from home and they've been using their kind of home space as their kind of working space as well. So it's definitely going to be something we're going to have to work on retraining ourselves, as you say. And with regards to the kind of the evolution of technology in the workspace, do you think that this is going to have an effect on millennials? Do you think that this will favour millennials, and if so, do you think that older people might feel slightly pushed out of the work market? Do you think they're going to have any problems or suffering from this?
Yes, I think that's a really good question, actually. I think the millennials just take to it like ducks to water, because they've sort of grown up with it, and they also, as new things are delivered to the marketplace, they just naturally go click, flick, and off they go, and they were. Whereas the old people like me tend to look at it and think, what's that again? How does that work? Oh, I don't know how to do it. So I do think that unless you've got young people around you, you will do. I mean, my daughter's, starting to push it. I keep telling her, but no, she said she was in a shop the other day, and because she was on her way back from her before the lockdown, she was on her way back from her trainer, and she decided to go into a shop and buy something, and then she realised when she got there, oh, I don't have my wallet with me, and a young person, much younger than her, said, that's okay, you can use Apple. And she said, oh, I'm not connected. And he told her what to do. And she then used the phone, and she came away all chuffed and said, ha. And I said, I would have had to leave and return, because I wouldn't have known how to have connected the Apple and everything. And there's still a part of me that thinks, do I want a place to have my fingerprint, my eye contact, my bank account details, my date of birth, my address, my phone number? The government aren't permitted to have that amount of data, but somehow the other suppliers seem to, in software and technology, they have all that, and we've given it to them willingly. So I do think it will come all like that, but I think the governments will start to really seriously locked down on how this data is stored and how it's used. And I think the people that are more elderly will perhaps feel a little bit more isolated through it. But then, on the other hand, as the technology improves and there's more fingerprint access and things like that, there'll be less. I mean, Alexa, or I've got a pod speaker, an Apple speaker, and I still go over and touch it and turn the sound my finger on it, and I know that I only need to say, "Hey, whatever her name is." Hey Alexa, do play or do that. And so I think older people just have to get into the mode of it.
Yeah. It's almost like that technology is moving so quickly and it's moving rapidly that there isn't really much of a choice. And even myself, I mean, I'm okay with technology, but I'm not the best, and there's still things that baffle me. And it's not scary, it's not frightening, it's just moving so quickly, and it's just keeping that kind of that pace of
momentum. And the other thing is, I feel like it must be really difficult for manufacturers. Not only have they got to dream it, they've then got to create the technology, and the amount of things that they create that don't make it, that hit the bin, and then they've actually created the correct product, get it to market, and then they've got to sell it to get back their investment on all the R&D that went ahead before it's out of date. So I think it's a real challenge to manufacturers as well as it is to us, the users.
Absolutely. I mean, one bit of technology that is going to, I think, just blow up and be absolutely massive is the LED technology. I mean, I've just recently been bought one of these bottles, and it's got an LED light in the lid, and every 2 hours it cleanses your water. So forget the Brita filter. This is the new thing, and I think even
that's amazing. When you look at some of the countries where water is gold,
yep.
it is the as you say, it's the cleanser for whatever country and whatever society you live in. And if you can have that something an issue with water being cleaned, how fantastic is that? That's when I look at technology and think, not only water, but some of the sciences that with the drugs and healthcare, well-beings, and things like that. It's some of the things that are coming out now are so amazing. Wow. Just to even think of the idea, and then some scientist has to go away and make it work and make it happen. I mean, really, the world is changing so quickly. It's almost unrecognizable from, if you go back 30 years, where computers were sold, but very few people had one. It's really such a short time, 30 years, and yet now most people have at least one, and a computer is the mobile phone as well. I mean, everybody has a phone now. The children have one.
Yeah.
So it's almost like their own ID.
No, it's incredible, really, and also not only, as you mentioned, they're kind of coming up with the actual concept and then making the product, but actually looking at the design of it as well, because the design of things at the moment is also really very important. You have to sell it and you have to be able to market it. So it's just the process of that, being able to do that so quickly is very, very, very impressive.
Very challenging, I would think. I mean, the millions of pounds that are invested into research and development, and it could be. I know myself, when I've done something, by the time you get it out to show it, it's already. We built a platform in SBID, SBID Pro, and we started it 3 times because each time we got almost to the end, it was already out of date, and we spent quite a lot of zeros on that development, so that it was fit for purpose. And it was such a big learning curve for us because obviously we're trying to create something from nothing, and the technology moves so quickly I do think that's a real challenge, and a financial challenge as well as a scientific and a user one.
Definitely. It's like when they bring out an Apple an iPhone, there's another one on the horizon. It's just a constant stream of
Yeah.
all this technology. But I wonder will it ever slow down, or will it continue at this pace? It's amazing, but it's almost had to get to the process.
Yes, I mean, the problem is I'm just trading in our telephone system at the moment. We're upgrading to a different style. And I looked at the phone system today and I thought there's probably 30 buttons on my handset. And I think I used three, which is, and if you asked me what all the rest were for, I wouldn't know. And I learned over the years with the technology, I buy the simplest washing machine and the simplest dishwasher because you tend to use one or two programs. So when it's all singing, dancing, I don't think people use it. I think we have oversubscribed to much of the technology because we just have got too much going on in our lives to sit down and read the instructions.
Yeah, yeah. Do you know what? That's me all over. I get a new gadget and I just want to use the basics of it. And I got a Fitbit whilst I was on furlough, and I was just on this Fitbit, and I just started using it without really taking the time to actually look at all the things that it did. And yeah, I mean it's incredible, really, how many things can do. With
Sorry, carry on.
No, go on. Got you. I was going to ask.
Just going to go there and say, remember years ago, because people never read the instructions, and I'm one of those people. And I bought one of those parasols that go on the side of the stroller, and my friend and I both bought one at the same time. We were taking the babies when they were along the beachfront, and we went into the shop, bought them, tried to put them on the side of the stroller, threw the polythene wrapper and the instructions into the litter bin. And sort of stupid instructions, how much you need. Well, after a few minutes looking at it this way, that we both had to lean into the rubbish bin and pull it out. And that's it. We think it's so simple, but we actually still need them. I think that even that we read less, so instructions and tutorials they're becoming more infographic or tutorials in a video where it's showing you in because there's so many languages, and because people change from country to country, that each you won't necessarily print English in England. You need lots of languages. So I notice in things like makeup or anything, when you pull out the instructions, it's now written in 15 languages, and it's the same leaflet wherever it's distributed in the world. So I think that's quite a good thing.
Definitely. Be interesting to see how many people, as you say, read those though, and what effect if you stop printing those, what effect that would have on obviously the environment.
Yeah, that's true. The Q&As.
And with obviously digital, the digital world becoming even more part of our kind of everyday lives, both work and personal. Do you think that this is going to have an effect on people's well-being and their health?
I think that as long as we were saying just now, I think that if people manage their time better, and it's one good thing that came out of the lockdown, is that people did tend to go back to a different pace and a different lifestyle. So if they manage their time better, then I think that will be a benefit. But I don't think that we're anywhere near that yet. I think that we all have to retrain not only the way we work as individuals, but also the expectations of others from us. I think that's an important thing. I think that companies need to expect, be more reasonable in the demands. It's not, I need it and I need it within 20 minutes. It needs, everything needs to be more measured. so that we enjoy our.
Yeah, definitely. And also something that we spoke about last week on this is that actually this kind of working in a more digital way and working in a pace that's more comfortable to each individual and more manageable allows people more time to kind of be creative and to think about better ways of doing things. And I think that's something that is going to be a positive that's going to come out of working digitally as well.
Time to think. Again, if you've got time to think, you make better decisions. And it's usually why when you come back from holiday, you decide, or when people have had, they've gone off for Christmas and then they decide, I actually don't want to go back to that job, or whatever. It's actually time to consider what you want from your life and the way you want to live it. And I think you make better decisions. I think you make better business decisions when you have more time to consider it. It's not just somebody throws something at you. And I learned over the years to, I'll say, yes, that sounds great, but I'll come back to you, because just having that breather, even if it's overnight, it just gives me time to consider it rather than just make that on the hoof decision.
Yeah, that old saying, isn't it? Sleep on it. And that's probably come from. It's, as you say, you make much better decisions when you've got more time to think about the outcome. And with going back to kind of working in a more digital world, what do you think that this will look like for companies? And do you think, I mean, we've touched on this kind of a little bit already, but do you think that they'll become more output driven as a result of working in a more digital way?
Well, it was interesting. I do. I think that I think we're just going to have to see how much this current generations, and if we divide the generations into three groups, the young, the middle age, and the old age, if we as such, I think that people who have traditionally done things in a certain way don't tend to like change, and they may generally still like to do things in the way they did. But certainly, younger people are much more willing to adapt to and definitely embrace digital anything. So I think it's just, will the middle group of the human race still need to go and touch and feel things? And I see that as what retail was, and why people still needed to go out to shop or to select things or to integrate for business, and face to face for meetings, and to shake hands with someone or to have lunch with them. But they all of those symbols, things like corporate entertaining, going to the football match, all those types of things, they were all describing bonding, and human bonding is something that you don't get digitally. So if we lose that, we'll lose quite a lot. But I did see over the lockdown cars, second-hand cars, advertised on TV channels, which you can buy online. And I thought, wow, would I buy a second-hand car online without looking at it, without seeing a mark or a scratch, or test driving it? Would I just think, yes, I like the color, I like the price? I don't think I would. But obviously it's interesting because you can see so many things becoming digital. The estate agents, instead of being in a shop, I can see an estate agent, you're not actually buying a house online, you're actually seeing the address, and then you'll go along and have a look at the neighborhood, and then if you decide that you want to go and look at that house, you'll contact with the online or company, and then make an appointment, and then go in and view the house. So I sort of see the process being faster, and it's cheaper to provide, and therefore the service is more attractive. But will it remove completely the way that we exist at the moment? I don't think for at least 20 years we'll see a total change, but I think we're seeing a fast change. I think we're in a very step changing moment at the moment, and I think that it will then probably slow down as things adapt, because it takes so much money to evolve into different things.
Yeah.
But yeah, it really is. It feels like a light bulb went on around the world, that everyone decided to stop running around and to talk to each other through computers, to no longer pick telephones up, to use telephones through the computers and everything. I mean, everything just seems that to have been completely digital over this last 4 months in a way that it wasn't before. So it's to see how it stays.
It'll be interesting to see, won't it? I mean, it's that whole kind of, when you were talking about estate agents kind of moving into more of a digital way, and buying used cars online, etc. I think I've seen an advert which may be the same company as the one you saw,
Yeah.
where the man's on his sofa and he must be
Yes.
on or something, and he's bought a car from the comfort of his sofa, and that's the message. And for me personally, I mean, I wouldn't buy a car on, in that way. I'd need to go and have a look at it, test drive it, etc.
Yeah,
But
that's the thrill. I mean, your car is a function, it gets you from A to B. But for
yeah,
me, it's more than that. I love cars. I love fast cars, and it's got nothing to do with being able to drive fast in them, because everything's, but I just love the car, and it's my
yeah.
space. I can have the music, what I can listen to what I like, I can have it blaring. Well, that's me. I just like the whole
Well,
thing.
I agree. Is it because I when I used to drive, I don't have a car anymore. I sold it to my friend, but I was exactly the same. I absolutely adored my car. It was my first car, and like you say, it's like your little space. And I drove to and from work, and it's that kind of space to debrief myself and to spend a bit of time on your own, and just I found driving really relaxing. That's probably
Yeah,
one of the reasons
me too.
why. Um, but but yeah, I think going back to that point about making everything being digital and being able to buy a car online, it's this idea that everything is so readily accessible to us. I could buy something online, a dress or a pair of shoes or something, and I've got it the next day, and it's that
Yeah.
kind of
But
mindset that everything is accessible.
but that's a good example. And if you look at the company like Amazon, it was a book company. It was a logistics company just doing a delivering books. Well, when books went out of fashion because print wasn't as required, perhaps,
Mm.
or sustainable as a book online, Amazon completely adapted their business model and became. Uh, you don't think of them as a logistics company, but it's exactly what they are. They just invited every supplier to sit on their website, which is a digital thing,
Mm.
and they would then deliver it for them. And now you see them as such a huge provider of anything you ever want to shop for. You can think of it. I ordered something on Sunday with engraving and everything, and I ordered it online on Sunday, and it was delivered on Tuesday. And I thought, wow, that is amazing. And normally I'd be thinking, where am I going to park and, and all of that, and I still might. And it's when it's personally shopping. So the two go hand in hand. But I also think that when you do go personally to do things, whether it's with people or the experience, that's exactly what it is. It's part of that process is the experience. And sometimes women, especially now, women go shopping for shoes and clothes, and so not necessarily to buy them, but they go out to meet their friends, and they sit in the cafe or the bar and have a drink, and they go home, and they may not buy it, but
Mm.
later that evening or the next day they just click and have it delivered, so they didn't have to carry it. So will shops just become showrooms? It's possible, and if that does happen, it will change the way that we tend to shop in general. I mean, we've got the supermarket being delivered now, and I think, if you didn't have a car, and you've just said that you don't have a car anymore, and that's exactly right. I don't think it's necessary to own a car anymore, because you can just, like you can pick up a bike in the street, you can go and pick up a car exactly the same way, and without any of the expense, and you just drop it off at the other end or park it in the street, unclick, and that's it. And I think that's what will happen with cars in the future. So yeah, it's different.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I live in a car-free development, and there's obviously lots of different developments going up all around, well, all over the world really. But for example, our one, it's a car-free zone, so you're not really allowed to have a car. There's no kind of parking space allocated to you unless you've got a family, or you've got certain a disability where you need a parking space. So I think you're absolutely right. I think we're definitely going to be moving more towards zip car, and there's another, can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but there's a couple of companies out there that specialise in that kind of pick up a car, drive it and drop it off.
And you've mentioned something else there, that is, when you're a property developer, you don't need to allocate so much space for parking. There's so many disputes over car parking and who owns which car and where they park it. And if it's like the bikes, where you pick it up at one space and you drop it off at another, there will be less space needed to park cars. And I just feel that when it will no longer be a necessity, and that's also a huge disposable income for many households to invest in cars. Probably the second largest average per.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the only thing, there's a bit of a contrast there, isn't there? So there's potentially going to be less cars and less parking spaces needed to be allocated, etc., which is better for the environment in one way. And then you've got, on the other side, you've got the kind of having everything at a touch of a button, being able to order something online with Amazon or ASOS and getting it the next day, and having all these people potentially now shopping digitally and shopping online. That's almost going to be negative to the environment. I'm sure they will move towards more kind of delivering things to pick up points and things like that. But it's just interesting to see that kind of comparison there. Whether it's positive or.
I think it's the same as empty aeroplanes, isn't it? You wonder how full the vans that are flying around every city are, and how necessary they are to be moving. And as you say, that they'll have pickup points and drop-off points, and that they're driving from A to B and swapping loads and things. But the system that's in place seems to work, and I think that especially if you're disabled, or you're sick, or you just have a lazy day, to actually just have everything brought to you instead of racing around the town. I think it's positive. I think that we just do need to keep our feet on the ground. But as you said earlier, with the millennials, they will drive how we adopt the technology that's out there, because if they don't use it or don't want it, then no matter how much it's developed, if it's not being used, then it's defunct, and that will stop the race of continually developing new technology.
Yeah. Brilliant.
And they're very vocal. The millennials are very vocal.
Right. They'll say if they don't like something.
Absolutely. And they'll demand things.
Yeah. We need this and we need that.
And we need it now.
And we need it now, absolutely. But I think that's a great kind of place to end this session today. I think we've covered lots of really, really interesting things that are potentially going to potentially happen in the future. So thank you so much, Vanessa. You're so interesting to talk to. I could probably talk to you all day about this.
We can talk. We like that. Nice chatting to you. Thank you so much, Olivia, for inviting me.
No, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for attending again, and I look forward to speaking to you again next week. We have our final podcast, so we're going to be talking about work-life balance. I know we've kind of touched on that a little bit today, but I think it's going to be a really important kind of topic of conversation about how this has been affected by coronavirus. So thank you so much again, Vanessa, and I really look forward to speaking to you again next week.
And you. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, Vanessa. Take care.